all your school rugby, all in one place. This is NextGenXV.
Alright guys, welcome to NextGenXV and of course another school's rugby update. So if you are new to our channel, please don't forget to click that subscribe button as well as bell notification, and as soon as new videos are released you'll be the first to know, and you'll join one of our 10,000 subscribers, which is a fantastic achievement for us, especially being a niche channel. So thank you to all of you guys that have subscribed already, very much appreciated, and here's to the next 10,000. So I managed to catch a few more games over the weekend. I'm trying to watch not only the big school games, but as many games as I possibly can to give full comment on it. And also trying to divide it up more regionally as well. There were some impressive performances, which we'll get to later. Some very shocking results as well. This is the beauty of the school rugby game, guys. You just don't know what's going to happen. Sadly, there were some big games cancelled. I was really looking forward to seeing Monument against Gasfontein and Grey College against Affies, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. Now, the rumours are flying around what the season would look like. There's a lot of conjecture at the moment. Nothing's official, so it's very much going to be a wait-and-see approach. We all have our personal opinions on the matter, guys, but at the end of the day, look, it is a game we love, but we have to obey the laws of the land. I mean, at the end of the day, this pandemic is eventually going to end, and, we can't put the personal safety of students and staff and, our fellow population at the risk for a game at the end of the day. And whatever happens, at least we got to see some rugby this year. So let's try and see the glasses half full, no matter what happens. Ideally, none of this happens and we get a full season. But you must remember, a lot of the guys have already seen more games this year than they did last year. So let's count our blessings ultimately. So let's start with the Eastern Central region. Westville, nice win over Michael House, 17 points to 10. Hilton, absolutely dominant performance against DHS. Hilton are looking very, very good this year, 44 points to 5. Northwood springing, some might call a surprise over Kersney, 29 points to 18. Cornwall Hill having a nice win over St Andrews School, 29-17. And finally, Lundbo Dull beating Burgersdorp, 50 points to 31. So some very interesting games there, very interesting results, and nice to see the KZN region in full swing of things already. Some of the major schools are already putting their hands up. Moving on to the northern region, Noordhoeville beating Marais-Viljoen 20 points to 10. Nice win over there for the Krugersdorp boys. Ege Janssen, dominant win over Holdmekaar, 47-24. So Janssies continue their very good season. You will remember we did mention them as dark horses this season, and they really are living up to their label. Ben Forster beating Montana, 33 points to 26. Nelspruit looking very, very good this year. We're going to mention a couple of their players in some articles later on, starting from next Monday, but they got some really exciting talent at that school, beating Transvalia from Vanderbijl Park, 42 points to 3. Kes having a nice win over Parktown, 45-12. And then finally Freiburg beating Brits, 41 points to 10. Moving on to the southern region, Hudson Park having a win over Kings at 30 points to 17. Apparently there was a couple of red cards in that game, unfortunately. Some will say an upset, but Hudson Park are definitely building up a decent program there. St Andrews beating Marlow 30 points to 14. I think a lot of people expected this to be a far tighter game. This is one of the games that could decide the Eastern Cape season, so to speak, about who will be the regional winner. Obviously, we just got to see St Andrews take on Selborne now. Graham beating Framsby 38 points to 15. I don't think anyone saw this result coming. Framsby's have been very strong over the last couple of years, and Graham had a very tight win over Port Rex. So I think a lot of people would have put money on Framsby winning this game. It's a fantastic win for the boys from Grahamstown. Otto du Plessis beating Hemelsdorp 18 points to 12. Alexander Road beating Victoria Park 22-0. The Port Elizabeth derby there. The majority of people on our poll actually headed for Victoria Park, so nice win there for the guys from Alex. And then finally, Grens beating Winterberg 22 points to 5. The Western region, Boland Landbou beating Sachs 24-17. Very tight game there compared to previous years. I mean, if you guys recall, generally the Wineland schools are quite dominant against the Southern Suburbs schools, so nice win over there. And very closely competed game, relatively speaking. Paul Jim against Weinberg, 31 points to 6. Very atrocious conditions. I watched a bit of the stream. It was quite hard to watch because of the weather conditions and all the rest of it. But very nice win over there for Poljum. And, Weinberg are a good looking team this year. They've got some really, really good players. So Poljum's dream season continues. Then Durbanville beats Strand 55-0. Levandre Horn is just a try scoring machine. I believe he scored 4 tries in this fixture. Then Stellenberg beating Brackenfell 38 points to 19. Let's get into the matches that I watched. So we're going to start off with Bishops against Porus, and I don't think anybody saw this game, this result coming, guys. Ultimately, I just have to say, Wesley Chetty, take a basu. I mean, this guy has just done incredible things with this program, and this was just an amazingly coached team. I'm not trying to take anything away from the players. The players were fantastic, but this was just an extremely well executed game plan. And, I think the vast majority of people would have, I think 90% of people would have picked Porus for this game. I mean, they only had a 15-point loss to Poljum last weekend. And Bishops, this as an under-16 group, I don't think they were the strongest. I mean, like in the country, they were definitely above average. I mean, Bishops are always above average, but that certainly wasn't like a dream team like last year's group. But yet, they completely dominated this game, and actually, quite frankly, they made it look easy. Sherwood and Hartzenberg as a centre combination must at the moment be the premier centre combination in the country, one would think. Between them and the Poljum pairing, that is going to be a cracker to see those guys go head to head. The Bishops fly half, forgive me, I think he's a head boy as well. I forget, Johnny Roche, I think his name. What rugby IQ this kid possesses. I mean, highly, highly intelligent rugby player. Always seems to know exactly what his outside backs are going to be doing. An absolute general. His halfback partner, Khan, was just outstanding. Man of the match easily. De Kock was fantastic. Overall, just a very solid game plan. And I think what I'm seeing in the Bishops team when they played against Porus is that, there's one in schools, they got very big forwards, and they rely on those big forwards to bash the ball up. And, basically gain territory and possession like that. And sometimes what the southern suburb schools do is they try and take them on. Whereas what I'm seeing, what Bishops are doing was like, we're not going to try and take them on physically, but what we're going to do is we're going to try and contain their strengths and try and basically push forward our strengths. And they played to the conditions amazingly, played that beautiful Bishops running rugby. There's hardly anything wrong with their gameplay. And if they continue like this, it's going to be an extremely difficult season for the opposition. Now, in terms of the Porus team, there are some individual players that are very, very good. I like their loose head. I really, really like the inside centre. Tristan van Dijk, I think he really played his heart out, but there just wasn't the execution. And this is what the big difference between these two teams was the execution. I mean, if I take a look at Porus, and sometimes their pods weren't lining up, the decision making wasn't on point, unforced errors were there, and it wasn't a good day at the office for the guys. It's a very talented team. Don't let this result make you think that this is not a talented team. But right now, they got very, very talented and very, very high potential individual players, but they're just not gelling together. Whereas the Bishops team is gelled together. And they're playing according to a game plan, and everything was just executed perfectly. They knew what they were doing, and I think they just somehow deep down inside, I think they knew they were going to win this game. And outstanding result for them. And you don't want to end up blowing these guys up too much, because I've seen it in the past go back to Herschel Gibbs's year. I think it was 92. They were dominating and beating every school, and then they end up losing to a category B school in the Western Cape. So this is the thing with the program, is that when everything's executed right, and I'm talking historically here as well, when everything's executed right, it's perfect rugby to watch. It's beautiful rugby to watch. But what they execute in 1 week, 2 weeks later, they might not be able to execute. They might lose to a team that you never think they could lose to. So I think that's something that I hope, and I think Wesley Chetty will get right in the team, is not to grow complacent, because that's been the curse of Bishops teams in the past. Bishops could have had quite a few unbeaten seasons. I'm thinking back to their 2006 team, for example. And like I say, the 93 team, they should have been unbeaten. But 92 team, apologies, they should have been unbeaten. But they just grew complacent, and I don't see this happening with Bishops. And I think Wesley Chetty is a coach that's going to have a hell of a future in the game. He's just completely transformed this program. I think he's you don't want to go too overboard, but you could call him the Basil Bay of his generation, I suppose. I hope he stays there for many more years and continues to build up the program in his image. I'm very excited about this team. Moving on, Paul Boys beating Rondebosch 30 points to 20. Again, guys, very difficult conditions. Very, very difficult conditions. And I think it was a very mature display by Paul Boys. I think they're still a bit rattled with the result last week against Grey College. But I think they were very mature, and I think this is going to put them in, stand them in good stead for future games, so to speak. A measured performance. There wasn't anything, outstanding or artistic about the game. The conditions wouldn't allow that. But what they did do is that they did, play a very, very solid game. Jean Small, under 16 last year, coming up, scoring 2 tries in this game. He was outstanding. I really like the look of that scrum off. I think he's going to be a real dark horse this year. I think it's Fourie. Compion was good as always. And in the Rondebosch team, apologies, I can't remember the hooker's name, but he was outstanding. The wingers were outstanding, and the Jacques Uester, guys, he's someone that you really need to keep a close eye on. This kid's a star in the making. I think he's a real dark horse. Next year's group is very, very talented. This year's grade 11 group, and I think Jacques is very much, he's one of the premier fly halves, but he's not a brand name yet. And I think as the season goes along, he will become a brand name because this kid's boot is outstanding. Very, very smart rugby brain on him. And he's just got that special quality, that X factor. And I think if it's honed correctly, he can really become an outstanding player. And just that sight of that hooker running down the touchline, that is absolutely amazing to see as well. And Abu Ndambambi really led his troops well. I liked his link-up play as well. Luca's good as always. Luca's very underappreciated, Luca Ribbons. He had a hand in both those tries. He always makes sure he's in the right place, and his distribution is great as well, especially for a forward. And Ruan Fenter was great again as well. I mean, I'll sing his praises. I really like the look of Van Schoor. I haven't spoken too much about him, but I really like the look of him, keeping a close eye on him. So, not an outstanding Paul Boys result. Hanno Wessels coming back was absolutely fantastic. I think that's going to help get some momentum. But very mature performance by the boys. And Rondebosch can also hold their heads up high. They played their hearts out. They weren't given an inch, and they really took on the Paul Boys forwards. They were really getting into the guys' faces. I mean, that one lock from Rondebosch, you could just see he was on the field just to try and, get a rise out of the Paul Boys players. He was all over the place. I really like the look of him as well. Moving on to Maritzburg against Saurus Elias, 83-14. Look, Saurus Elias aren't what you'd call like a major rugby school, but I really like the look of their centre, Mbata. I really think he's a special player that you should be keeping an eye on. Otherwise, a very, very solid performance by an outstanding Maritzburg team, I think, are going to be very exciting this year. Corbin Thunder, absolute captain's innings by him, so to speak, led from the front, was all over the place. Daniel Border made a big difference when he came on at half-time. Swift and his prop partner were outstanding as well. And then Vandenberg, the winger, I think he had a good day as well. You're quite proud of his performance. Liam Prinsloo is an absolute tank. I mean, this guy is going to be a dangerous centre, in the year to come. He's definitely one of the biggest centres in the country, and he definitely is going to take a couple of names. And then we have to talk about an absolutely lethal talent. That's Kid Spanglopo. He was the fly half, and good Lord, guys, I can't explain to you how composed, measured, and talented this guy is. I mean, he's just got every quality it takes to go all the way to the top. And I mean, when I say all the way, I mean all the way. He's something very, very special. He's a very special player. You guys need to keep an eye on him. As far as I'm concerned, it's going to be a very tough one this year and next year, because in the fly-off position, you obviously got Computer van Ludwig and you got Liam Kuhn, two outstanding talents. Spa's playing fly-off at the moment, but I think he was equally comfortable at fullback, and that might just be his ticket to the big time. I know that he'll obviously want to play fly-off. He's a competitor, but I'm just thinking in terms of the overall makeup of the South African system. I mean, this kid is going to be something special. I mean, I remember seeing Apalele Fassi at school level and thinking to myself, like, this kid's definitely going to go far. And when he didn't make SA schools, I was shocked. I think Spa's by far better than Apalele was at school level. I know it's a big call, but I'm telling you, this kid is something very special. Keep a close eye on him. Then the last game was Glenwood against St. Charles. St. Charles put on a brave performance. Glenwood didn't have it all their own way the first half an hour, so I don't think they got a point on the board. But eventually they broke them down, and actually it was a very measured and controlled performance by Glenwood. I think they were, basically finding their feet, getting their system sorted, and I think a very impressive outfit, a very, very impressive outfit. I really like the look of the scrum half Als. I thought he was outstanding. So it's so crazy to think that, last year they had Nico Steyn, and this year they got this Als youngster, who's also very talented. So nice assembly line of scrum halves there from the Green Machine, and I like Lafleur, the youngster on the wing. He also looked very, very good, very composed, very measured. Then you got the usual suspects. I mean, we've spoken about them a lot. You got Mulborough and the boys, very, very strong players. But the guy that I have to talk about, for me, my man of the match, was Patu Ganyane, and he's an absolute tank. You might as well pencil him in for SA schools this year already. I don't think there are going to be many better props in the country than this guy. He's an absolute animal. He just loves scrummaging. He loves the brutal side of the game. He loves the physical side of the game. He's a proper mongrel. He gets stuck in. I mean, if you're going to war, you want to go like this on the front line. You know what I mean? And he was definitely on the front line this year. And I think he's going to take a couple of names this year. Big boy, big future in the game, and overall Glenwood were very, very impressive. I think they are going to be an outstanding outfit this year. This was actually the final game. It was Selborne against Port Rex. My apologies. And I thought Port Rex were pretty good in this game. They didn't let Selborne have it their own way, but Selborne just a very, very quality outfit. Guy Bishop, spoken about him a couple of times before. Guys, this is a very, very special player. Reminds me a lot of Renzo du Plessis in terms of his playing style. A lot of pace, a lot of upper body strength, very good in the offload. Very, very similar players. So if you try and watch a couple of the games with Selborne, you'll see what I'm talking about. Very, very exciting, modern day loose forward, exciting and dynamic. Like the look of him. And then you got that lock, like a future little John Eels over there. Well, not little, but Tonkin, I think is his name. Kicks for the post very, very accurately as well. You don't see that every day. Really, really interesting player. Then you've got du Plessis at scrum half. I thought he was very good as well. And then the wingers and the front row as well, guys. Aidan Gentle looks like a very interesting player. I spoke about him as an under-16 last year. And, obviously it was a team performance, and another team performance that was very composed. I really liked what they did. I think they're building towards something bigger. And I love the commentary in this game. I'm from the Eastern Cape region originally, and you could just hear these sort of proper Eastern Cape guys. This is the type of commentary I want to hear. Guys that just love the game and, have a deep knowledge of the players. I thought that was absolutely fantastic and something different. So a very, very well-coached team is the Selborne team. And I definitely think they're gonna make a name for themselves a bit later in the year as well as the season goes on. But it should be very, very interesting. So we're going to get into the top 10. Now, if you go into our website, I'll leave a link below in the description. I've done a top 10 based on our point system. To me, it still doesn't quite make sense, but I put it up anyway. It will start making sense. That's the thing with this system. You need 5 to 6 games to get into this, to basically get into it properly. And we've only had 3 games, but I've had so many guys emailing me and asking me about it that I ultimately decided I'm just going to do it and see what the response was. And obviously, as expected, a lot of crappy emails about, you don't know what you're talking about, etc., etc., which is fair enough. Everyone's got an opinion. But I just think it's too early to put it on a video, so I'm just going to go with my personal opinion top 10 until we get to about 5 games, and then I'll switch to the point system. But 10th place, I still got Monument there. Still think quality outfit. Unfortunately, didn't play against Gasfontein, but I still think they deserve their place in the top 10. I still think they're top 10 program. 9th place, EG Janssen, Dark Horses. I still think they could go up in the season depending how it goes. They must really like their chances for the Versieka Beker this year as well. 8th place, Stellenberg. Nice win over Brackenfall. Although not ideal, at the end of the day, they're a maturing program. They've got some very, very exciting and interesting players, and you definitely get the feeling that, this is going to be one of their better years. 7th place, Porous. Obviously, that loss against Bishops hurt them quite a bit. But no doubt the Maroon Machine will come back. Too much quality there just to take it and lie down. 6th place, Otanikwa. Otanikwa haven't played enough games yet to really be considered a force, so to speak. But from what I have seen of them so far, I definitely do think they're a top 10 program. And I think my personal opinion is that, 6th place, 5th place runabout there is perfect for them. 5th place, I went with Bishops. Lovely win over Porous. Quality program, and I think a lot of the one schools are going to be looking at them and are not going to be looking forward to this fixture. Certainly not. 4th place, I went with Paul Boys. Although not the ideal victory over Rondebosch, still showed composure, still showed maturity. Hanno Vessels is back. Makes it a bit of a different program, and I think the momentum is just going to swing forward for them. 3rd place, Oakdale, goes without saying. Outstanding season so far. Could easily be in first place by the end of the season, depending on how the ball bounces. 2nd place, Grey College. Unfortunately, the play against Uffies. One felt that would have been a tough day at office for Uffies, especially considering Grey College's win last week. And then Poljum, obviously in first place, the only unbeaten side. Well, besides them and Oakdale, the only unbeaten sides, in the top half of the table, so to speak. Out of the major schools. I know Bishops are unbeaten, but they haven't played any of the major schools yet. Okay, so that's all. Thanks a lot for taking the time to watch this, guys. Much appreciated. Thanks for your support again. Thanks for helping us reach 10,000 subs. And as always, have a great week further. Cheers. Bye.